this is Angela, and you're listening to Five Picks and a Chick featuring El Gato. This is the show that gives you 5 NFL picks for people who love football and friendly wagering. Hey, El Gato, it's finally that time.
We made it. It was a long, hot summer, but you know what? The NFL season has finally come to us, and I'm looking forward to a good NFL and college season. But I know we're focused on NFL, but here we are. We're ready to get some picks on the books, aren't we?
Yep, NFL Week 1. NFL Week 1 is always tough, El Gato. It's tough picking games only because we've only seen these teams play in preseason. And usually, of course, in preseason, everyone knows it's starters might start the first quarter, if even that. So we really haven't seen the entire team, the entire starters play. So I always say the first week of NFL is tough to pick, but we're going to do some picking. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. And to extend on that point on why week one is to a point, week two is kind of tough. We haven't seen these starters play all together, a full game. Like you mentioned, preseason, they're playing rookies, they're playing free agents, they're playing guys to see if they can even make the team. So this will be our first look at what a team looks like, and also all of the teams that have acquired new players in the offseason, in trades, and coming off the practice squad if they've had injuries during the preseason. So, although we know who the superstars and who the playmakers are on all of the teams that we're going to be picking and all of the NFL teams, there's still, you got to look at the O line, the D line, cornerbacks that have been newly acquired from teams. You don't know how they're going to mesh in with the veterans that have been there. New coaches,
Special
defensively,
teams.
yeah, special teams. So yeah, it's a challenge week one and week two until you get an idea of how these teams, what their game plan is, what they're going to concentrate on, either passing, heavy run. So yeah, it's a challenge these first couple of weeks, but that's the exciting part. We get to see it, develop, and then we can make our picks according to how the teams are going to move forward in this long NFL season. So that's the exciting part.
Yep, I agree. But before we begin with our picks, I just wanted to mention our record for last season for the NFL. This is the NFL season. I had 55 wins, 46 losses, 5 pushes. My win percentage was 54%. You were at 58 wins, 44 losses, and 4 pushes. You were at 57%. So not too bad for our second season. I think our first season we did even better.
I like that. Above the 50% mark, that means we're picking mostly winners, right?
That yeah, well, at least over that 50% mark, like you said.
Yeah, at least over the 50% mark, and that's all we can ask for. Do our best and get that percentage rate maybe a little higher this year, and see how it turns out.
I agree. Well, my first pick is going to be Rams plus 3.5 at the Lions. This is a revenge game for the Rams. If you remember last season, the Lions beat them in the wild card game by only 1 point. So they're coming in hot. This is also a revenge game for Stafford against his former team, which last season was a revenge game. Both teams have a ton of offensive weapons. So I see this to be a competitive, high scoring game. So I'm taking the Rams getting 3.5. What are your thoughts on this game?
On this game, I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to take the Lions, especially because they're at home. They did have that competitive, close playoff game last year. You've got two veteran quarterbacks, at their prime right now. I'm going to go with the Lions only because it seemed like to me they've got a little bit more playmakers on the offensive side. With the Lions, you've got second year Gibbs at the running back. You also have the short yardage guy, Montgomery, that can get you 3-4 yards to convert third downs. You've got St. Brown at the wideout. You've got a dynamic tight end for the Lions, and the question mark for the Lions is going to be defensively. Did they shore up their secondary in the offseason? I'm not quite sure who the playmakers are going to be, but to your point, with the Rams, they also have quite a few playmakers. They got Puka, they've got Cup at the wide receiver spot. Of course, they've got Stafford slinging it all over the place. The question mark on the Rams is also going to be on the defensive side. So I think you're right. It's going to be a pretty good offensive game, but with the high expectations the Lions have this year and how far they went in the playoff run last year, I think they're going to take that next step in the development of this Dan Campbell coach team. They kind of mirror his personality of being tough and gritty and no nonsense. And I expect the Lions to do well this year. And opening up at home, I do expect them to cover that 3.5. So I'm going to go with the Lions on this one.
All right. My second pick is going to be the Titans getting 4 at the Bears. So this game is going to be an interesting game. There's a lot of pressure and expectation on the Bears. They bought the number 1 draft pick in quarterback Caleb Williams. He's a rookie. He's going to be starting. So I think a lot of pressure is on the Bears. Tennessee really isn't expected to do much this year. So I think they're going to come out playing free and loose. Titans also have a revamped team. They've got a new head coach in Brian Callahan. They have a new running back, not new to the NFL, but new to them, Tony Pollard. Big mistake, Cowboys. Big, huge. Tennessee has a whole new core of receivers. Bears will have a better season, but I think it's going to take them a few games to gel. So give me the Titans getting 4. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, as far as the point spread, I don't have an opinion on that. However, I will take the under 45 on this one. I mean, you raised some good points, Angela. Tennessee, I went over their roster today and a few days ago, and with the exception of a few of the players you mentioned, I mean, it's a revamped team. It seemed like they turned over at least half of their roster. It looks like to me. So yeah, they're going to have some struggles. They're not expected to have a great season. They may, if they're lucky, they may get to 500. Probably below that is what the expectation is. I mean, they've got a good second or third year quarterback in Levis that can throw it. But as far as playmakers, I really don't see anyone on that team. On the defensive side, you're right; they bring in a lot of new players. Uh, I don't know who their run stoppers are going to be. To be quite honest with you, with the Bears, you are right. Lots of pressure is going to be trying to manage and handle that number 1 pick, Caleb Williams. He performed well in preseason games. I mean, we saw what he did. A couple of those starts that he had. Are the Chicago Bears, the offensive coordinator, going to protect him in game 1 and not force him to actually win the game, but maybe just manage the game, not make too many errors. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Williams, but he is that sort of player that can make plays not only with his feet, but scrambling out of the pocket, hitting that short to mid-range 15, 20-yard pass. More importantly, extending the plays, getting out of the pocket and making something out of nothing. So we'll see, but I do expect, with Caleb Williams starting for the first time, the challenges Tennessee has in a revamped offense and defense, I'm going to go with the under on this one, under 45.
Elgato, you have a third pick for us?
I do. I have the Vikings at -1.5 at the New York Giants. The Vikings, in order to replace Cousins, who went on to the Atlanta Falcons, drafted McCarthy from Michigan as their number 1 quarterback, number 1 selection. And unfortunately, during the preseason, he has a leg injury to the knee, and that ruled him out for the entire season. That he's going to sit out. There's no way he's going to come back this year to play. So got Sam Darnold, who was picked up and added to the roster as insurance, and he's serviceable. He's been in the league for at least 4 or 5 years, it seems, and he's played well at times for a couple of other teams, the Jets and the Panthers, I believe. And they're going up against the New York Giants. They've got Daniel Jones as a quarterback for the Giants. You know, he's had a roller coaster career so far. Maybe not the supporting cast he would have liked to succeed in New York, but here I'm gonna go with the matchups. I'm gonna take Sam Darnold over Daniel Jones at the quarterback spot. I'm gonna take the playmakers that the Vikings have, and they acquired Aaron Jones from the Packers, dynamic running back that can run really hard between the tackles. They've got Jefferson at one wideout. They've got Addison at the other side that can stretch the field. On the defensive side, Brian Flores has always schemed well defensively. I think he's going to do a good job against the Giants in this spot. So, even though the Giants are playing at home, I'm gonna take the team with what appears to have the better talent at the skill positions for this game one. So I'm gonna take the Vikings at -1.5.
Yeah, I'm with you on this pick. I'm going with the Vikings as well. Like you mentioned, Giants had a terrible year last year. Uh, they lost their quarterback, Daniel Jones, to a torn ACL. But he's back this year. But guess who they lost? Saquon Barkley to the Eagles.
I
And
lost him
that was
too.
that's a big loss for the Giants. So I do know Vikings did lose Cousins to the Falcons, but they still have a decent roster on both sides of the ball. Last two times these two teams played, the difference was a field goal. So I believe Vikings are the better team. I think they'll pull off a win.
I like that.
You have a fourth pick for us?
I do. I have Green Bay at the Eagles, and I'm going to take the Eagles at -2. As you mentioned earlier, Eagles added Saquon Barkley at the running back spot. I think the Eagles have been missing that key component, dynamic running back that can not only run between the tackles, but that can break it outside and also, flare out and catch the pass and turn a simple 5-yard pass into into a 20-yard play, 30-yard play downfield. So much improved at the running back spot. They've got weapons on the outside like no other team, I believe, in the NFL. They've got Smith, they've got AJ Brown, they've got at the tight end spot to cover the middle and Goddard. They've got another wide receiver that they acquired in Dotson. So the Eagles are not going to lack in playmaking ability. It's just how is that O line going to hold up in protecting Hurts? And we know Hurts is pretty dynamic at the quarterback spot as well. I mean, he can hit his passes sideline to sideline, and he can also tuck it and run, extend drives, and that's what he's done last couple of years. That's why the Eagles have been successful. Now, on the other side, Packers had that good playoff run last year. They've got Love at the quarterback position. He can also throw it sideline to sideline and downfield as well. You saw what they did to the Cowboys last year in their playoff run. In this case, though, I think the Eagles, it's to be a make or break year for that coach. Uh, so
Sirianni?
Sirianni, thank you, Angela. I've forgotten his name there just for a little bit. And I mean, he's on the hot seat. He's one of the NFL coaches that is on the hot seat. He's going to have to perform this year, manage the team, uh, have Hurts stay healthy. Defensively on the Eagles side, I mean, the only thing they really had to improve upon, because their front seven is solid. I think the front four linebackers are solid. The only thing they had to improve upon is their secondary to really become an elite defense. And they acquired a couple of pieces, and we'll see how that defense can gel and play well this year. So Eagles being at home, uh, timeout. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this game
Yes,
in Brazil?
yes. This is a game in Brazil. It is Friday night. So not only do we get a game Thursday night, we get a game Friday night.
I had a note here on my sheet. I don't know why I wrote down Brazil, but when I saw it, I said, "Man, this game is on a neutral field. It's not in Philly, but still, I'll still take the Eagles at -2. I think they will and should win this game pretty easily.
Well, I'm going with you on this pick as well. Eagles -2. Eagles are 10-1 or better in their starts these last 2 years. Eagles have improved their running game, like you mentioned in Saquon Barkley. That was a huge pickup for them. And even with Kelsey gone, I still think they have an excellent offensive line. Still going to be able to do the tush push. Eagles will
I
start
think so.
off. Eagles will have a fast start after last year's collapse at the end of the season. Packers, like you mentioned, they're an up and coming team, but I still think that they're young and inexperienced. So give me the Eagles playing in Brazil on Friday night.
I like that. All right.
How about a fifth pick for us?
Well, fifth pick, game of the week. It's the game of NFL Week 1. Ravens at the Chiefs, a rematch of last year's AFC game, AFC playoff title game. Ravens are +3. I'm going to take the Ravens in this spot. To me, I think the Ravens they're almost at that point where they've that window of opportunity is 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 going to close. You know how every NFL team they get a core group and they're good for about 4 or 5 years tops before players get old, they get injured, they get traded. This may be one of their final 1 or 2 years to do something in the AFC. And the Ravens have lost, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 5 or 6 to the Chiefs. And at some point the Ravens have to say enough is enough and win something, especially against a rival like this. And they've got Lamar Jackson, who I think maybe rededicated himself this offseason. Reports say he's dropped 10, 15 pounds, and it's not as heavy or as bulky as he got last year, which maybe limited his the weapon that he has, which is his running ability and to keep the defensive ends of the opposing team guessing on what he's going to do. And he's pass it, he's going to run it. So him rededicating himself off season to dropping weight and becoming faster and leaner, I think it's going to help Ravens. They got that Derrick Henry. They added him to the run game. He's a big back. The Ravens like to run. Their heavy run they take the personality of their head coach, and uh, getting those 3 or 4 yards to extend drives is I think why they added Henry to the roster, to extend those drives and maybe to keep those drives going to finish a game, like they've had trouble doing these last couple of years to get over that hump. And of course, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They got Mahomes, and he's probably the best quarterback in the NFL. Some would say he is close to Brady or Brady-esque. He can will his team to win. He can throw it all over the field. Although he has a new cast of wide receivers, and with Kelsey getting a little bit older and maybe not able to run, he can still find the open receiver, and he also has legs to run on and can extend drive. So I'm looking really forward to watching this game, especially how the Ravens come out and see if they can punch the Chiefs right in the chicklets and see what happens. They got to do something. I'm going to take the Ravens +3 in this spot.
I'm with you again on this pick, Ravens +3. These are probably the two best teams in the NFL. They both are going to be tested in the very first game of the season, which is going to be great for the football fans. It's a rematch of the AFC Championship last year. They, like you mentioned, Ravens have Derrick Henry, the running back that they got from Tennessee. Ravens also have a new offensive line. So hopefully that's going to give Jackson some time in the pocket to get rid of that ball. But Jackson can also run. But like you said, age makes a difference. So, Mahomes is 4-1 against Ravens. and you really can't make a living betting against Mahomes. But in this game, I'm taking a chance with Lamar and Ravens since it's not a postseason game.
That's right.
So give me the
Oh,
Ravens. I'm
love
going.
that jab. I love that jab.
So Mr. Parlay, he's been a special guest picker on this podcast. He gave us a 2-team parlay. It's the Ravens and the Eagles. And I like this parlay because those are both teams that we went with. So give me this 2-team parlay.
That's a good week one parlay from Mr. Parlay, like you say, one of our guest pickers. And yeah, I'm gonna take that. There are two teams that I picked to cover, so I'm gonna roll with that recommendation. See how it turns out.
All right. Any final thoughts to wrap this up?
Well, here we are. We got our picks in for week one. Now it's just sitting back and enjoying how and seeing how it unfolds, especially tomorrow with this Ravens and Chiefs game. I can't wait to watch that game. I'm gonna be besides myself all afternoon getting ready for the game. I may even lift weights. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
All
I'm
right.
ready.
Excited for the game tomorrow. And don't forget, there is one on Friday as well. Well, if you have made it to this point in our podcast, we just want to thank you for listening to our podcast. Be sure to tell your friends about us. Also, hit the subscribe and like button on our YouTube channel. You can also find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Make sure to join us next week. As always, thank you to El Gato for being part of 5 Picks and a Chick. 1, 2, 3, bet.
Love it.